So as you can see, went to use my fourtax and it doesn't want to start, which is not real surprising because it's probably been sitting here for 3 or 4 months and now winter has happened around us. It already needed a little bit of carburetor work, so I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that was the whole reason it's not starting now. You know, that plus the time on it. Unfortunately, since it won't start, I have to do something shameful. So that's right. It's disgraceful, I know. I'm gonna have to pull the Honda with the Polaris. I'm sorry. Alrighty, so we got it up into here. Some way that I don't know, we're just never gonna talk about that again. It's shameful.
Magic.
You all saw it, I don't need to say it. So yeah, we have a cranking no start. So there's a couple things I know about this. This one is actually my bike. I've had it for years. Just I haven't used it in a while. I haven't needed it, so it sat. But when it did run last, it was kind of having some issues. It said it probably needed the carb clean. Like it would sometimes idle, sometimes it would idle high. It also has a choke cable that is seized up, which could have been causing all of that. But I am able to choke it. I'm just not able to unchoke it. So if that was the issue out in this weather, that would have made it start better. So I feel like we're probably looking at taking the carburetor off, and probably while I'm there, I'm going to replace that choke cable. But just to be sure, we have to go over the basics again. So we need gas. There is gas in the tank. It's not all rusted and stuff. It hasn't been sitting that long. It even still smells like gas. And then we have to see if it has spark. Hopefully this is a good spark plug. It sure was sitting over there. I don't feel like pulling the spark plug. This takes the other style. There's the top of there. It's a threaded rod, or there's a little cap that screws on it, or some just have a solid big part. I just pulled it off the plug that's actually in the bike. Now I suppose this doesn't necessarily rule out a spark issue, but I don't really often find that it loses spark, that the spark plug would 100% fail completely while sitting. So we have great spark. I don't believe that's the issue. Now to be real thorough, I should pull this spark plug out. One, so I could do a compression check, because that's part of the things that you need. And also so I would know that that spark plug is sparking and sparking correctly. I'm fairly confident that it's a fuel issue though, so I think we're going to move on to trying some stuff with that. I don't quite have the heat in my garage running yet. I borrowed pieces off of the heater earlier in the year, because that was a problem for future me, and I hate that guy. So it's a little cold. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull the air filter off and just try to find something flammable to spray up in there and just see if the engine kind of pops to life for a quick second. So it looks like I need a Phillips screwdriver for that. That does not want to move. There it goes. It's on a rubber and plastic flange. It's not something I can use my impact screwdriver on.
Doesn't help that it's cold.
And yeah, it's cold. It's not super cold, honestly. I mean, it's probably 20-something degrees right now, but
Fahrenheit.
Alrighty. So we are open to there. This also shows me too that there wasn't any like mouse nest or whatever, because around here that can be a problem. So now I need to find something flammable and something sprayable and something full. That one. I almost just put that back. I don't know. We'll set it here. It'll annoy me there the next time. Remember that's the problem for future me.
And that guy's a jerk.
He'll be fine with it. I don't remember where my garbage can is, so it sits over there.
I think it's behind the plywood tote box, etc.
A little fuely stuff in there. It's fuel related. So, like I said, during the summer, back when I was using it, it had issues with the idle kind of going up and down. Sometimes it wouldn't idle. And that there, honestly, this engine is amazing on gas. It may have run that long on what I sprayed. So yeah, there's gas in the tank, but it won't run. But when I spray it in the carburetor, it works. So we're gonna get that carburetor pulled off of there. And I'm gonna turn my key off too, so my battery doesn't die.
That's a good plan.
It's nothing short of amazing that it's not dead. It has been pretty cold around here. We had like -12 a few days ago.
Yeah, that sucked.
So, there's a couple ways to get around this. You don't necessarily have to remove the gas tank. It does look like it would be easier. Well, I don't even know if I'll have to unbolt it, but there's this cross brace here with looks like 12 millimeters. I may want to move the air box just to give the carburetor room to come out. I don't know yet. I'm going to shut the gas off now because I'll forget later and it'll be funny. So, 12 mils.
Ooh.
They're moving just about as much as I want to
in this
20-degree weather. I think I might just start using this air box as a nice little bolt bin. Hey, actually, we have had a critter in there. Looks like they were just starting, so that's good. Got that in time. That I am going to pull the air box. I think it's just going to be a lot easier on me. It's kind of one of those things where an extra minute or two here will probably save me time, but it will definitely save me a headache when I go to pull that out of there. Mm. I'm actually missing one of the screws to hold that in there. And one of my grommets over here, but it's an old Honda, it doesn't care.
That's not where that goes.
That's slippery.
Oh, maybe a little.
Sure. Okay. Screwdriver again, actually.
Didn't you just have one?
Well, I had a Phillips, but I need a flathead now. Now see, actually, those are Phillips head screws. But in the past, and this is actually a neat trick too for you. In fact, let me steal the camera from you. Okay. You can kind of see this screw right here. You can almost see the rounded out center. It used to be a Phillips screw, but it stripped out. So it looks like somebody took like maybe a hacksaw, or I would use a cutoff wheel myself if I could. Which you can't do if it's in there, I guess. But once you get it out, however you do, you cut that little groove and now it's just a flathead screw. Oh. So it saves the screw, you don't have to buy a new one. It's good if you're cheap and or broke like me.
I mean, that works.
So now it's real easy to remove it. Take this one here right off of there too. See, that was applied, learning there. I didn't set the screwdriver up there again where it would fall. It's also worth noting that airbox would have been far more difficult to remove if this was still here. There should be a tube that goes from here somewhere up in there as an air intake. Mine doesn't have it.
The Honda don't care.
It's missing on a lot of them. The biggest advantage is it will take air from up here instead of down there. So if you're in water, as you might be with a four-wheeler, you're far more likely to have, you're far less likely to have it suck in water. No visible dirt in the main tube there, but I'm sure it's there. So I can't really show you what I'm doing yet, but essentially it's just a hose clamp on a rubber boot on the engine. And I'm pulling that, or I loosened that, and wiggle the carburetor out of that boot. Hopefully it comes out without a fuss. Because I've actually had to replace that boot on this, and they don't make them anymore, and they haven't for a long time. This was a used one I got off of eBay, and it was expensive because of that too. So they're a little bit hard to find. So we have a couple things. We have the fuel line, which honestly I'm probably just going to replace. So I could just cut it, and I might. We'll see how it goes. I'll try prying it off first. It's kind of one of those clear, well, this one's bluish colored, but translucent nylon. It pulled off. They don't seal real well after you reuse them, so I don't care for them that way. They tend to get hard and cause leaks. There's really no substitute for a nice black rubber one. So I need to take the throttle cable off, which I can only do a little bit of right now. Now pull this cover. It is going to start leaking gas when you tilt it, if there was any in it, and I can already smell it, so I'm sure it is. There's 2 screws at the top of this black cover. Then you lean it. There's a little tab on the bottom. And you open the throttle from here, slide this sideways. There's actually water in this one. That's not good. That comes out. Now I have to loosen this nut and spin the carburetor out. The problem with that is I can't do that yet. So we're going to stop there as far as that goes. And on this side, this is the choke. Sometimes you can turn it by hand. I don't have pliers or anything. It does have a hex head. I can almost never grab them with that, so it's going to be somewhere between a 12 and 15 millimeter. I don't remember which drum they're in. I haven't been out here a lot lately. Let's try a 14.
You've been doing stuff in the house.
Yeah, I guess if you follow my videos, you can see I've been in the house. Just had that one up there about the ceiling fan. There was a whole bunch of other stuff we didn't film because it doesn't really fit my channel, but it'd been a while since I made a video, so I made a video. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this with pliers because a 13 won't fit it and a 14 slips. It does look like it's kind of seen better days. Luckily, we're replacing it while it's out of here. So I'm using the universal wrench. Oh yeah, broke right free.
Don't do that.
I almost sent my vice grips to Jesus again, but well, maybe not Jesus, but somewhere.
We'd be going down south where it's warm.
And then it's just going to unscrew out of there. And yeah, as you can see, this is all the way up here. There actually should be a spring there. I can't even pull it. But the cable goes into the top of this, and there's a spring that's actually supposed to kind of help it come back. But since my cable is so seized up, it's not going to do that. So we will return to that at another time. But now that that's there, I'm also missing a lot of like the little vents and stuff that normally are hanging on here. Well, I have that one. You can see it's broken off. Since I'm holding these, break this lock nut free. This cable's out. You just spin the carburetor. And you can see it's unscrewing off of that. At some point, real soon here, there we go. Carburetor's off. Gonna set that kind of, yeah, set that up there. I might end up pulling the gas tank just to route this choke cable. I don't know. been squirrels or chipmunks or something way up in here doing a lot of stuff.
Or mice.
Alrighty. So I guess we'll look into that carburetor and see what's up inside. First thing I'm going to do basically is just flip it over. That is not the color gas is supposed to be. Y'all probably can't see that, but it looks very much like old coffee or something.
It's showing up on the camera, but
Oh,
it looks more clear. It looks like water.
Well, then it's not showing up on camera.
Well, I mean,
it is brown.
You could see it drizzle. You could see it. You could see it coming out of the carb. Is what I mean. Like.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't really begin to tell me what we need to. So I'm going to pull this idle screw out of here, just because it's kind of going to be in my way on the float bowl. When I'm done, it's probably going to have to be readjusted for everything anyways. Another thing, by the way, it's completely unrelated to this. This was a her thing too. She got a new car.
I got a new car.
They're actually really easy to use. So
yeah, they are.
I'm not going to, they're not paying me or anything, but it was really convenient and they brought it right to us and stuff.
Video incoming of the car.
Yeah, there will be a review on that car.
Maybe when there's not as much snow.
Nope, we got to do it with the snow. So I have the 4 screws out that hold this float bowl. Okay, if we look down into there, kind of see there's some grimy stuff there. I don't know how well it shows it. You can tell. I can see it on the screen there. It, yeah. You can see a little bit of grimy stuff on this. So I'm sure that the jets are probably all going to show it too. Oh, is this the pin I have to hammer out? Nope, this is just a pin that I push out, but I do need something
to push it out.
Something pointy. So some of these pins right here you have to like actually hammer out. This one here, it's a little bit of a snug fit. So you just find something, push that pin out, and then the float will come out. Hopefully the needle comes out with it. That one does. And yeah, looking in here, there's some cruddy stuff in there. So it was definitely due for a cleaning. It's a plug that comes out. It's always good to take note of where those are when they come out.
I hated that noise.
So here's our main jet that controls anything somewhere in the middle of their throttle range up to full throttle. It's visibly cleared out. Doesn't mean it's completely clean, but it looks like it. And we have the pilot jet. I'm going to bring it up here so I can get some leverage on it. There we go. It's very important to use the proper size screwdrivers on this too. I actually have several. I don't know if anybody recognizes all these handles like this. These are Harbor Freight. They're cheap. They're like $6.99 for the whole set. And I do that on purpose. One, because I have ADHD and I leave them everywhere. But 2 is because I don't feel bad when I have to grind them down. Because I have a lot of them ground down to specific sizes for specific purposes. If I spent $20 on a screwdriver, I'd be upset about that. So, there's the pilot jet. You know, it makes a whistling noise, but I think that's just my lips not sealing around it when I blow through it, because I can't see through it at all. That would cause a no start situation, as it had. And very low, well, it would also cause the idle issue. Anything from no throttle up to, give or take, right around quarter throttle is going to be going through this. So this would explain a lot of the symptoms we've been having. And all this crud in here would explain what happened to it. There's that. Since we're apart, we're going to take this thing completely though. This screw down here is the mixture screw for the pilot circuit. You know, the pilot jet gets the fuel, and because it's on the engine side, it's controlling how much air and fuel mixture is going to the engine. Sometimes you'll see them over here. If they're over here, they're more of an air screw. But since it's over here, it's the air and fuel. They've already mixed by the time they get here. It's good to get the baseline for it, so you'll screw it in lightly and count the turns. So it's like a half turn, 1 turn, 1.5, about 2 1/4 is where this one was at. Basically, you lightly go in till it, well, you go in till it lightly seats. Now I'm just taking it out for cleaning purposes. Looks like the O-ring that's on it is trashed. I just got a needle, little valve in there. It's tapered, so when you take it out, it lets more through. But yeah, it's got an O-ring up here that's not really in great shape. It looks like it's cracked. It could just be that it's old. It could be that it's not made for fuel use. Whatever it is, though, we'll make sure we get something better on there. And I might get some people mad at me for this, but I'm willing to pull this. It's the nozzle or emulsion tube or whatever. And I'm pulling it with these because that's what I have handy. If it gets real stubborn with me, then I won't. But yeah, it didn't take much. So I broke them free with vice grips. You know, sue me. It's just a tube. It's got holes in the side. Those need to be clear to let air get in there to mix with the fuel. Usually I put my finger over the one end, cleaner in the other. And I mean, logically it goes all the way through. So that part's fine. Tube came off. Since we got this stuff out, let's see if that pilot jet does anything. Actually, it does.
Oh, I just got some in my eye.
Are you okay?
I think I'm okay, yeah.
Now I really wish I had heat because this stuff is really cold on your fingers.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Okay. So some of the holes on the side are a little bit plugged up. I'll go back in there and get those with a wire later. A lot of this carburetor I don't really need to take apart that much. Everything up in the top isn't going to keep it from running. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave all that stuff. The linkage for the throttle works fine, so as long as I can get all the dirt and stuff out of it, we'll probably just call it good. There's that. Port for the choke. You don't really have to know exactly where everything goes on this, as long as everything flows. Obviously this was the spot for that mixture screw. It's going to come out in here. There's going to be some tiny holes. I can see it. I don't know if the camera can, but...
Probably not.
I could see it was almost like fogging out. But
oh yeah, I could see the fogginess bit.
It was spraying too, but as long as you can see it while you're doing it. There's that. The main jet, we don't really have to spray up through there because that's a giant hole right all the way through. In fact, it's this one. So we know that that's going to go. Doesn't hurt to try to spray through the pilot jet. Actually is having a little bit of trouble. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray a lot of stuff into here and then I'm just going to leave it for a little while and we'll come back to it at another time.
Go.
Alrighty, so I apologize. It's probably been like 3 weeks since I took this thing apart. So I don't remember exactly what it was I filmed last, so I'm probably going to repeat a couple of things. But I was cleaning it up. I had found some dirt and stuff in there. The biggest thing I was waiting for is the bowl gasket. I've took it apart. It looked like it had been RTV'd the last time. So I kind of soaked some stuff up. We'll just go back through it again just to make sure. That one's looking good. Pilot jet's flowing nicely. Couple things here. That circuit's good. That's basically going from the mixture screw up into here where it gets the gas. That's the last spot it goes before the engine if it's on the pilot circuit. So a real low throttle opening. So then we're going to go back here to the pilot jet. which I believe was here. You can see it comes out where that mixture screw is. So we know that that passage is clear. Pilot jet was one of the things I just sprayed. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in. And as soon as I find the screwdriver, I swear I just sat here. Snug that in there nicely. Got that main tube, some people call it the nozzle, the emulsion tube, whatever you call it, that's going in. I don't have the wrench for it handy.
What size are you looking for?
Oh, it's usually down there like a 6. Here's a 7. I wonder if that'll do it. It's a 7.
It's a 7.
That's good because I didn't see the 6. Give that a quick snug. That down. Main jet's probably fine, but now I know it's fine. That screws into that tube I just put in there. Quick little snug on that. This little rubber plug goes in the tube that has this jet on the side. Just kind of a snug fit. That's all it really needs to do. Have that mixture screw. And I'm actually going to put a little bit of oil on this O-ring. You don't have to do that, I just kind of like to. Help it go in a little easier. I'm going to turn it until it lightly seats. Right there. And back it out. And like I said, there is a preliminary setting that this is supposed to be. I don't actually know it. But essentially you'd go to lightly turn, and let's just say if it was 1, you'd back it out. There's half from it, and 1. That would be set. So I'm going to give this one a little bit more. But essentially, if it seems like it's running too lean at idle, which a lot of times would be like a backfire through the carburetor, it would need more, I'd back that screw out. And vice versa. So, need my float. Looks like it's in good shape. Got the needle, the rubber's still soft on it. Kind of slides up into there and holds itself. Slide it down into there. Try to pick up the pin, and that slides through these into and through the float and out the other side there, you can see. And this here I believe is just a little baffle. Goes on there like that, and yeah, I bought a new gasket. You don't always have to replace the gasket. This one was definitely beyond due. That in place. Let's get our screws in. At least the first 2 of these, it's a good idea to just barely snug down. You don't want to tighten them too much. You could, even though it's unlikely, you could potentially pinch the gasket a little bit or force it out of its spot. So I'm kind of just taking these down to where they just barely contact. And kind of look around, just make sure there's nothing weird. And now I can tighten them. I'm still going to kind of go in a cross pattern, kind of stages. I don't know that you have to, but it's a good idea. It never hurts. dripped on.
You are getting dripped on.
Okay. I put my idle screw back in. Now I can do that. And for right now, I'm going to get it just to barely contacting right here. It's just barely started to move that. It's a good enough spot for that. Okay. And we're going to set that aside and move back to the four-wheeler itself, which, because it's been a few weeks, has kind of turned into the spot where I throw all my stuff. Good spot for that.
Yeah, it's a great spot for that.
Alrighty, now the other thing that I have to do is I have to replace the choke cable. On this four-wheeler, it's supposed to be down here, but you can kind of see the cable's not in this, and this is missing. It's been replaced with a little handbrake, which, well, I guess doesn't hurt anything. It works. But the cable itself is seized. It moves up here, but it doesn't actually move down there. You can see it's already pulled completely out. I can pull it, but it doesn't move freely. So we're going to be replacing that. I gotta be honest with you, I ain't looking forward to it. So, here's the new cable. It's just real easily moves back and forth. That one, of course, didn't do that. So, I have very low hopes for this actually working. But the proper way to do this is to pull like the plastics off a little bit, raise the gas tank up, and then kind of route it through stuff. I am going to try my best to half-ass my way through that by taping this one to that one and hoping it pulls through. Low hopes for it, but it would save me so much time if it worked.
Yeah, that's true.
I use electrical tape for everything.
Hey.
It's real nice. You know, it's rubbery, it stretches. It's super cheap, especially if you get it at Harbor Freight like I do in those big 10 or 12 packs or whatever they are. So, I'm going to wrap this a few times. Kind of put it over that. Make the diameter of it as small as possible. And like I said, honestly, I don't expect this to work. I'm just really hoping it does. Kind of just, you know, using the old cable as fish tape here. And hey, maybe I'll get lucky. Worst case scenario, I have to do it the right way anyways. So,
Let's see this magic.
we got a snaggy spot. Oh.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool.
Look at you.
Very happy that worked. So now I just gotta remove all that tape. I used a lot of it, but like I said, it's super cheap and obviously worth every penny. Alrighty, so go ahead and bring the camera down in here. So it worked nicely, but as you can see, this is just a cable. Look how nicely it moves though. This one I still have to save some of this. So in here I have to hold this. Okay, that went really quick, so it was hard to see.
It went really fast.
Let's see if I can get the end to pull out a little bit. Anyways, The spring was actually on this cable, but I can't really show it if I do that. Once the spring is on it, you'd have to hold it back and slide this into that groove where it's held, and then the spring would go over and it would hold it in place. So we need these pieces. We also need this plastic piece. Should just pull, and it does.
You're making this look way too easy.
So the plastic piece goes on first. Kind of put that rubber boot around it. Then the spring. Okay. Since this cable is actually free moving, there. So when we choke it, it pulls it up into there, opens the stuff in the carburetor. When we unchoke it, it should do that. See how it's returning itself? That's what it's supposed to do. So if I just let go of this other end though, because that's actually working so well now, it would just fall. So I'm going to try to go ahead and put it back up into here. Now, this is not an ideal thing for it. It works fine to pull it, but it lets a lot of water and stuff get into here. That's probably why the other cable froze up. So I will replace this at some point. I'll get the correct stuff down here, but I don't have the correct stuff right now. So we're gonna just reassemble it the way it is. Gonna reroute it back through where it is, get it up to there. So we're back up to here. I'm gonna show you the way I'm doing this, even though it's not the right way, so. Just kind of hooked that over that. Set this in. You can see it's not even the right size. And then it goes over. This threads into here a little bit. And that's a lock nut for the adjustment. I'm going to leave it right there for now because it's holding that kind of tight. And as you can see, if I pull the lever, it chokes it. It will require some adjustment. It would be a lot easier if I had the correct block down here on the handlebars. But we've been over that. I don't. So let's go ahead and get that carburetor. First step, I'm going to look down and just make sure that carb boot is not torn up. I'm being honest, it's not in great condition. There's a little piece of rubber down here. It is in acceptable condition though. Boy, you aren't going to be able to see anything in there, are you?
Not really. I mean, I could probably hold the light.
Okay, so we have the throttle cable and the choke cable. We're going to start with the throttle cable. If you remember from the beginning, you have to pretty much put it here and then spin the carburetor.
It is so windy outside.
There we go, it's started. And we're going to put it there. Has to be at the right angle. So that goes up to that. I will lock it down in a moment. It's not super important. Then that choke goes into the side here. Yeah, I'm sure I'm blocking your view, but it threads in. Just remember that it's plastic, it's not very strong. So if it feels like it's cross-threading, back it out, try again. And when you go to tighten this down, hand tight is probably even fine. If you tighten it with a tool, it's just barely tighten it. I am going to give it just a little bit of a tweak here. It's literally right there, and that's perfect. You go any more, you'll break it, you need a new one. So now I still have this lock nut. I'm kind of just getting the carburetor where it goes. Need to pull that choke cable, it looks like. There we go. Work it into the boot. Never in a million years would I be able to show that because it's so hidden.
It's wedged.
But now that that's in there, you know what? I forgot a step to show you guys.
Oh.
It's a super easy one. I could do it with the carb on, but I can't show you. I didn't hook my throttle cable up. So just push the barrel into this here, open the throttle, and the cable will go into that slot over there, close the throttle. Now I have throttle. So I have this cover that has to go over the throttle over there. So bottom tab goes in. That goes up there. Screws go in the top. I'm sure I'm blocking everything, but
Yeah, kind of are, but
it's a tab on the bottom, 2 screws on top. One of mine's not factory, so it'll look weird. There's that. Now we're going to put the carb back in that boot. Okay, so that's back in there. The gas has been on there the entire time, so that's good. I should put everything back together, but I'm going to go ahead and try to fire it up just how it is. Everything up here is solid enough. It should fire right up. Needs a little more idle, which is a lot easier to get to right now, which is why I have all that off. All the choke works too. You obviously hear the difference when I do that. I'm going to give it a minute to run, let the engine get warm a little bit. Just see if anything kind of wanders. I'm also going to loosen up this choke, because it might be partially choked right now. It's not. I got slack in the choke cable, so I used that with adjusted. I have these. They're just little tiny. I think I got them at Meijer actually, but you can get them anywhere. Harbor Freight, I'm sure, has them. Little short flatheads. That's, remember that little mixture screw right up there? Every once in a while, it gives me a little hiccup and maybe a slight backfire through the carb. So I'm going to loosen that screw a little bit more to give it a little bit more fuel. Pretty happy with that. It's still a little bit off, but the jetting's going to be a little bit off because I don't have my air filter and box in. When I do that, it will richen a little bit. So we're going to start assembling that. Didn't get too far, but we did have a little bit of a squirrel in there. Well, not a squirrel, but a little bit of garbage in there. So we did have like some mice or something trying to build a nest. That, the boot that goes from here to the carburetor. It'll kind of let you know where it's supposed to go. Okay. I only have this one screw for the airbox. I'm going to get that started first. And get those boots in and tighten them. Also, you might see some smoky stuff coming up. That's mostly just the oils and stuff on my hands. I was touching the engine while I was down there. So now they're kind of burning off. Snug that up. Snug that up. What else we got here? This little cross brace, I think it's a seat support bracket, probably would be what its main function is. Those bolts started in there. Okay. Air filter. Kind of, you can see there's a groove in here, goes over that. So the metal goes inside, the rubber goes outside. And that goes in. Got the hose clamp for that. Screw that goes on the back of it. The airbox lid just kind of goes underneath these clips. Kind of has a little groove it sits in. And it's got to tighten these up with the other socket. Seat on this one just pushes straight down. Kind of find where it goes, and that's on. Okay, got the carburetor all back together, sealed up good. We're running. Really only one thing left to do. So, now that everything's alright with the world, it has redeemed itself, as I knew it would because it's a Honda and that's a Polaris. But, got the carburetor fixed, got the new choke cable on, everything works as it should. Definitely fires right up. No issues whatsoever with that. So we're gonna bring this video to a close with that. Especially because it's like 15 degrees outside and I want to go in. So, as always, thanks for watching The Grant Garage. Tune in, check out the other videos. I've probably got close to 30 things up right now. Mostly small engine stuff. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see some of that. Please like the video or comment. If there's anything I can, anything you want to see, let me know. See you next time.